Chunks of semi-molten sulfuric rock rained from the sky as Jason Brown ran for cover. The planet Xenos 6 determined to kill him and his team in 1,000 different agonizing ways. He dove behind an obsidian boulder just before a smoking meteorite cratered the yellow sand where he'd been standing a split second before. The extreme conditions that made Xenos 6 a death trap for every known species were exactly what led the alien Talarians to scoff when humanity asked to settle a colony there. No one could survive on this planet. Jason Brown was determined to prove the arrogant Talarians wrong, even if it killed him. As a seasoned human explorer, he'd seen the miraculous ability of human grit and ingenuity to tame the most savage worlds the universe could throw at them. But Xenos 6 was a challenge unlike any he'd faced before. Searing deserts, continents spanning oceans of boiling acid, volcanoes ejecting lava, poison gas, and pulverized glass. The environment was only the first hurdle. Jason's team still had to build a colony that could withstand the unending onslaught of Xenos 6's wrath long enough to mine the precious minerals beneath its surface. The stakes for humanity had never been higher. The Talarians promised humanity a seat on the Galactic Council if the Deathworlders could achieve the impossible and establish a permanent foothold on Xenos 6. But if Jason failed, the Talarians would seize humanity's fledgling colonies and relegate mankind to a footnote in galactic history, forever dismissing them as just another primitive species that reached too far, too fast. To understand how we got to this pivotal moment, I need to start at the beginning. Months earlier, I assembled a crack team of humanity's brightest scientists and most intrepid explorers. Our mission? To survey Xenos 6, a planet deemed uninhabitable by the Talarians. They said we'd never survive its deadly surface conditions, but humanity had a habit of proving the galaxy wrong. Our shuttle punched through the turbulent atmosphere, the hull groaning as corrosive gases stripped away bits of protective plating. We landed in a desolate valley, surrounded by towering volcanoes belching lava and toxic fumes. But we came prepared. Our envirosuits could withstand the worst this hellscape could throw at us. Or so we hoped. We spent weeks mapping the planet's surface, collecting samples and searching for anything of value. The days were a brutal gauntlet of searing heat, vicious electrical storms, and unpredictable seismic activity. Every night, we huddled in our reinforced shelter, listening to the sounds of Xenos 6 trying to kill us. Despite the dangers, we pushed deeper into the planet's secrets. We discovered vast networks of caves, filled with mesmerizing crystal formations and strange, bioluminescent fungi. But even these wonders held hidden threats. More than once we barely escaped with our lives, when pockets of noxious gas or hidden lava tubes threatened to consume us. And then, in the heart of a massive cavern, we found it. An enormous vein of a shimmering blue mineral unlike anything we'd ever seen. Our scans revealed it to be an incredibly dense source of clean energy, the holy grail of power generation. This discovery could change everything, not just for humanity, but for every species in the galaxy. We were just preparing to extract a sample when a shadow fell over us. The Talarians had arrived, led by Ambassador Craxon himself. He demanded we hand over everything we'd found and leave immediately. But we didn't come this far to let the Talarians steal our triumph. We stood our ground, ready to fight for what was rightfully ours. The tension between the Talarians and the humans came to a head. Ambassador Craxon pulled a glowing triangular device from his suit and barked orders into it. The alien weapon pulsed as he spat demands for his soldiers to attack us and secure the source of energy we'd discovered. Seconds later, a fusillade of plasma bolts slammed into our encampment, slagging equipment crates and kicking up sprays of molten rock. I shouted for my team to take cover in the caves, gambling that the Talarians would be just as vulnerable to the planet's dangers as we were. We grabbed what weapons and supplies we could carry and sprinted for the caverns. The Talarians pursued, their sleek armor a sharp contrast to our battered envirosuits. But as they followed us into the twisting tunnels, the planet's fury turned against them. A group of Talarian soldiers stumbled into a pocket of toxic gas, their screams echoing through the caverns as the corrosive atmosphere ate through their suits. Another squad was caught in a cave-in, tons of rock crushing them as the unstable terrain shifted. We used every dirty trick we could think of, luring the aliens into dead ends filled with lava flows or across bridges that crumbled beneath their feet. But even with the planet fighting on our side, we were still outmatched. The Talarians' weapons cut through our makeshift barricades like they were paper. We fell back deeper into the caves, barely staying ahead of the advancing soldiers. That's when I heard it, a whisper in my mind, ancient and powerful. And, "I am the core," the voice said, its presence filling my thoughts. "I have watched your struggle and found you worthy. The power you seek is mine to give, but only to those who prove themselves deserving." I listened in awe as the core recounted its history, how it had shaped Xenos 6 over eons, waiting for a species with the strength and determination to master the planet's challenges. It had seen something in humanity, a spark of potential that set us apart from the other races who had come before. "The Talarians seek to enslave me, to use my power for their own ends," the core said, "but you fight for something greater, the survival of your species, the chance to forge your own destiny among the stars. Aid me, and I will grant you the power to defeat your enemies." I felt a surge of energy coursing through my body, my muscles thrumming with newfound strength. Around me I saw my team undergoing the same transformation, their eyes glowing with the same blue light as the mineral we'd discovered. We turned to face the Talarians, ready to fight for our lives and the future of our species. The battle was intense, but with the core's power flowing through us, we were more than a match for the Talarian soldiers. We moved faster, hit harder, and shrugged off blows that would have killed us before. The aliens fell back before our onslaught, their weapons useless against our enhanced abilities. In the end, we drove the Talarians from Xenos 6, their ships fleeing into the void. We had won the day, but I knew our struggle was far from over. The Talarians would not forgive this defeat, and they would be back with even greater force. The battle for Xenos 6 was just the first salvo in a war that would determine the fate of the galaxy. As the dust settled on the scorched battlefields of Xenos 6, I, Jason Brown, and my team found ourselves forever changed by our bond with the core. Its ancient power thrummed through our veins, granting us strength and knowledge beyond our wildest dreams. But with this power came a heavy responsibility to unravel the mysteries of this enigmatic planet and its place in the tapestry of the galaxy. We spent countless hours exploring the ruins of a long-dead civilization, deciphering cryptic messages etched into crumbling stone. Slowly, piece by piece, the truth began to emerge. Xenos 6 was once a shining beacon of progress, a hub of galactic civilization ruled by a mighty empire that had mastered the secrets of the core. But their greed and arrogance proved to be their undoing. They sought to harness the core's power for their own selfish ends, and in doing so, brought about their own destruction. As I stood amidst the ruins, the weight of this knowledge pressed down upon me like a physical force. We had been granted a great gift, but also a terrible warning. The fate of the galaxy rested on our shoulders, and we could not afford to repeat the mistakes of the past. But our time for reflection was short-lived. A massive Talarian fleet appeared in orbit around Xenos 6, their ships bristling with weapons. Ambassador Craxon had returned, his pride wounded by our previous victory. He was determined to take the core by force, no matter the cost. We sprang into action, fortifying our defenses and preparing for the inevitable onslaught. The air crackled with tension as we worked feverishly to devise a plan to protect the core from falling into enemy hands. But even with our enhanced abilities, we knew we were outmatched against the full might of the Talarian military. That's when I made a decision that would change everything. I gathered a small group of volunteers, each one willing to lay down their life for the cause. Our mission was simple but daring: infiltrate the Talarian flagship and confront Ambassador Craxon directly. We slipped aboard the enemy vessel like shadows, using our newfound powers to evade detection. The corridors were a labyrinth of sleek metal and pulsing energy, but we navigated them with grim determination. Talarian guards fell before us like wheat before the scythe, their weapons useless against our enhanced reflexes and strength. Finally, we reached the bridge. Ambassador Craxon stood before us, his face contorted with rage and disbelief. "You dare to defy the might of the Talarian Empire," he snarled, his hand reaching for his weapon. But I was faster. In a blur of motion, I closed the distance between us, my eyes locked with his. "The core belongs to humanity," I declared, my voice ringing with conviction, "and we will fight to the last breath to protect it." What followed was a battle unlike any I had ever experienced, a clash of wills and ideologies that would determine the fate of the galaxy itself. Ambassador Craxon was a formidable opponent, his mind as sharp as his blade. But I had the core on my side, and with its power flowing through me, I met him blow for blow. The bridge became a whirlwind of motion as we fought, sparks flying from clashing energy fields. Consoles exploded in showers of molten metal as stray blasts struck them. The air grew thick with the stench of ozone and burnt circuitry. Time seemed to slow as I stared into the cold, unyielding eyes of Ambassador Craxon. Our battle had raged for what felt like an eternity, the bridge of the Talarian flagship reduced to smouldering ruins around us. Blood seeped from a gash in my forehead, while Craxon sported a scorched hole in his armor, where my plasma bolt had found its mark. Yet even as we stood there, locked in a deadly standoff, I knew there would be no reasoning with the stubborn alien leader. "Craxon, listen to me," I pleaded, my voice hoarse from the smoke and exertion. "This path leads only to destruction. The core is not a weapon to be wielded, but a force to be respected. If we work together—" But Craxon cut me off with a snarl, his eyes blazing with a fanatical light. "Spare me your pathetic appeals, human. The Talarian Empire will not rest until the core is ours, and your pitiful species is ground beneath our heel." With a roar of fury, Craxon lunged at me, his energy blade humming with deadly intent. I met his charge head-on, my own weapon flashing in a desperate parry. We clashed in a whirlwind of sparks and searing plasma, our enhanced strength and speed pushing us to the very limits of our endurance. I could feel the core's power surging through my veins, granting me speed and reflexes far beyond human norms. But Craxon was relentless, his every blow fueled by a lifetime of training and an unquenchable thirst for power. We traded blows back and forth across the ruined bridge, neither of us willing to yield an inch. In the end, it was a moment of sheer luck that turned the tide. Craxon's foot caught on a twisted piece of metal, throwing him off balance for a split second. I seized the opening, driving my blade deep into his chest with a sickening crunch. The Talarian leader staggered back, his eyes wide with shock and disbelief. But even as he fell, his hand closed around the hilt of a small, innocuous-looking device on his belt. With his last breath, he activated it, a cruel smile twisting his features. "If I cannot have the core," he rasped, "then no one will." The device began to pulse with an ominous red light, and a cold dread settled in the pit of my stomach. I knew with a terrible certainty that Craxon had just activated a doomsday weapon, one that threatened to destroy not only Xeno 6, but the entire galaxy. Alarms blared throughout the ship as I limped my way back to the hangar bay, my mind racing with desperate plans and calculations. The core's voice echoed in my thoughts, urging me to hurry. We had mere minutes before the device detonated, and the fate of billions hung in the balance. My team was waiting for me as I stumbled into the hangar, their faces etched with worry and determination. They had fought bravely to secure our escape route, but the real battle was just beginning. "We have to stop that device," I said, my voice grim. "If it detonates, it will tear apart the very fabric of space-time. Nothing will survive." The weight of those words hung heavy in the air, but I saw no fear in the eyes of my comrades. They had come too far, sacrificed too much, to let the galaxy fall to Craxon's madness. "What do we need to do?" asked Sarah, her voice steady despite the blood and grime caking her armor. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what I knew must be done. The device is linked to the flagship's power core. The only way to stop it is to decouple the core manually, from outside the ship. A heavy silence fell over the group as the implications sank in. Whoever undertook that mission would be exposed to the vacuum of space, with only a slim chance of survival. It was a suicide run, plain and simple. But even as I opened my mouth to volunteer, the Corps' presence flooded my mind once more. "Jason," it said, its voice heavy with sorrow and pride, "you have fought bravely, but this burden must fall to another. Your destiny lies along a different path." Tears stung my eyes as I looked at Sarah, at the faces of the men and women who had become more than just a team. They were my family. "The Corps has chosen," I said softly. "One of us must make the ultimate sacrifice. But know that whoever falls today will live forever, their name etched into the annals of history as the savior of the galaxy." In the end, it was Sarah who stepped forward, her eyes shining with a fierce, unwavering resolve. "I'll do it," she said, her voice ringing with conviction. "It has been an honor serving with you all. May the Corps guide your path and humanity prevail." There was no time for lengthy goodbyes or heartfelt embraces. Sarah donned her helmet and strode towards the airlock, pausing only to clasp my hand one last time. "Give them hell, Jason," she said, a ghost of a smile playing across her lips. "And never forget what we fought for here today." Then she was gone, a lone figure silhouetted against the void as she made her way towards the flagship's reactor core. I watched her go, my heart heavy with grief and pride, knowing that her sacrifice would echo through the ages. The minutes ticked by with agonizing slowness as we waited, hardly daring to breathe. Then, just as the doomsday device reached a critical pitch, a brilliant flash of light erupted from the heart of the Talarian flagship. The Corps' radiance swept over us in a blinding wave, a tsunami of transcendent energy that burned away the darkness and pain of the long battle. In that moment, I felt Sarah's presence one last time, a faint whisper carried on the solar wind. "Remember us," she seemed to say, her voice fading into the infinite depths of space. As the light dimmed and the flagship crumbled into molten fragments, I knew that Sarah's sacrifice had not been in vain. The doomsday device was destroyed, the Corps was safe, and the galaxy had been given a second chance at peace. But even as we limped back to the battered remains of our own ship, I knew that the scars of this battle would linger long after the physical wounds had healed. We had won a great victory, but the cost had been higher than any of us could have imagined. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.